Are you tired of the corporate media lying to you now looking for something authentic? You are not alone. Over half this country is tired of the mainstream media, and this has led to the rise of the independent content creators. If that sounds interesting to you, then you are in the right place. Join thousands of other independent thinkers as we expose the corrupt government and the fake news here on The Cash Loren Show. America is the greatest country that this world has ever known. There has never been more opportunity available for you than there is right now. But the Democrats want to take away your rights. But if Donald Trump has shown us anything, is that we can win when we fight back, inspiring 80 million of you to stand up for our country. Just like we're doing here out of the spare bedroom in my house, learn the facts and how you can fight back Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern here on The Cash Loren Show. Subscribe and turn on notifications. This is The Cash Loren Show. We're about to uncover one of the biggest corruption stories that has ever hit in U.S. politics, at least in my lifetime, maybe in a generation, and maybe even longer than that. This is the Joe Biden Autopen conspiracy. Now, I'll cover over a quick couple little points about this. It's not the Autopen itself. What is the real problem here is who was actually controlling the Autopen. Because if it wasn't Joe Biden, then who was running the country? To start off with the Autopen, it's just signing a document. And this by itself is not really the big deal. Too many people are trying to take the points, like with the January 6th pardons. Well, they will go and they'll say, see, look how all these signatures are exactly the same. And then combine them together, trying to say, like, it wasn't by hand that was done this, it was by an Autopen. Because even if you are the most practiced of people who sign signatures, you will do your signature just a little bit different every time. But the Autopen itself is not the issue at all. You might as well just put that off to the side. The real issue here is, was Joe Biden even aware of it? Did Joe Biden know what his name was being signed to? See, that is the really big issue. Was his staffers operating the Autopen? And what it may even be worse as it comes out, not only were they operating the pen, but they were possibly also selling clemency. This corruption is incredibly something that would be just deeper and darker than you ever think be in politics. But there's no end to what people are willing to do for money and power, as it seems. We've all had our suspicions with Joe Biden all the way back before the 2020 election, when he would just kind of wander around and be a little numb and be a little weird, and you just kind of think, well, that's just old man Joe Biden. And then out came with the Hunter Biden scandal, and then the 51 intelligence agencies went and lied for the Bidens, and then it came and it moved for deeper and deeper into his presidency as they continue to hide him not only from the press, but from you, the American voters. And what's really suspicious about all of this is, as this is all coming out all at the same time about how much worse Joe Biden was than many people realize, is that all of a sudden this cancer diagnosis comes out at the biggest time. I mean, just days before the Tapper book comes out and days after the Her tapes are released, showing that Joe Biden was in far greater concern than many thought that he was. That he wasn't remembering very basic information that he should remember. Or that how was he there? And he was the commander-in-chief. I mean, so how far back does this go? And we go back to the Afghan with draw. How in charge was Joe Biden back there? Did he give the order? We don't know at this point. What about if he was, say, attack Libya or Syria or somewhere else and he says the wrong place? You know, what is his staff supposed to do? Or what if he's even in the room in the first place? Okay, if Joe Biden is not running the federal government, then who was this entire time? And the fake news networks, or whether it be MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post, Political Axios, they have all been Team Democrat. Okay, every single one of them are in the bag for the DNC. And now they're trying to pretend that they weren't in on it this whole entire time. You have people like Tapper writing his book, and make no mistake that this book being written, this isn't to somehow expose the Biden White House, because that's the hoax that they're trying to play, is that somehow the White House duped every single one of them. I mean, all the journalists all at the same time. Isn't that, I'd say, unbelievable? I would say that's very hard to believe that every single journalist saw the exact same footage that we saw and thought, you know what, no, Biden walking into walls, wandering around, saying weird stuff, that's just because he overcame a stutter. Or these are just cheap fakes, where cheap fakes being where they took video and they selectively cut it and edited it to make Biden look like he was doing things that he really wasn't doing. You remember people like Mayorkas standing up there saying how sharp Biden was. And all the fake news went along with it perfectly because they are all Team DNC. And that is why it's so important for the independent creators to rise up now and become more popular than they've ever been before, because you, the independent thinkers, you have a need to want the truth, right? Just to have facts and information pointed to you, and then you can decide what you do or do not agree with, or what you do and don't believe. Is that a fair assessment to say? Is that not why capitalism is so important? And so then you can just take the best of the best, you can put them out there, and then you can decide who you want to listen to based on who you agree with or you don't agree with. See, the time of the fake news, of them dominating the airways, has come to an end. This past generation, where it was very different for if you're older than you are younger, is there was a time when there was no way to get information out other than these big corporate media news outlets. People would go to work, they'd come home, they'd turn on the news, and they'd watch whatever news outlet they wanted to watch. But all of them were working together to lie to you, the American voter. And their lies are very much worse than you would imagine, because it's not just like blatantly lying to somebody, where those are easy to tell. Or the other ones where they would just not cover stories if it doesn't fit the narrative. The type of lies that the fake news ran in, as we're able to show now, are much, much, much worse. Because what they would do is they would cover a story, but then they would edit out the facts they didn't want you to know, and then replace them or cover them up with the facts they did want you to know. And if you knew the entire story, you would never come to a conclusion that the mainstream media wanted you to come to. A perfect example of this would be like the suckers and losers hoax, where it's one person who said something that they claim to have heard, and so all the fake news runs with it, right? You have the Atlantic does it, and then the Atlantic runs with it. Then all the other fake news pick it up. So this is starting with the deep state, over to Atlantic, over the rest of the fake news. And then the deep state picks it back up on the story that they leaked in the first place. And then they pick up and they need to open an investigation into this completely made up nonsense. And then it dominates the media cycle. You are now you are now staring in to what the deep state actually is. If you want to see the swamp, if you want to see what I call as the deep state, or what others have called the blob, this is the elected government, these unelected bureaucrats, and then the mainstream media all working together to lie to deceive you at the same time. There has never been a better time to be invested in politics than there is right now, because of our opportunity to show things like this. Or remember back on the Donald Trump with the 9 bullet hoaxes, when he was being interviewed by Tucker Carlson, and they said that he tried to threaten Liz Cheney. This is a perfect example of how the fake news, they don't just lie to you, they literally edit out clips so you will come to the wrong conclusion. You remember what Trump said is that these DC war hawks, they sit safe in Washington while they send your sons and your daughters out to go bleed so they can get rich. Meaning that Liz Cheney doesn't have bullets flying at her. However, the news, they intentionally cut that middle part out. So if you only had fake news, the only thing you would hear was that Donald Trump had the 9 bullets. He was wanting something bad to happen to Liz Cheney. And they all knew they were lying. They all ran with it anyways. But because of independent creators like here on the Cash Loren Show, where I am America's truth teller, cutting through the Democrats' hoaxes and lies, making the liberals cry tears that are saltier than you know whose fries. The fake news has ran for this for decades. And this is no different now when what they covered up with the Joe Biden, but also what they're trying to do to lie with the Donald Trump's administration, because they were all Team Democrat the entire time. So who was running the show? Okay, I don't think there's any doubt that Joe Biden was the puppet, but who was the puppet master? Right, who was pulling Joe Biden's strings? Right, who was telling his staff what to do and what not to do? We certainly have our guesses, but we need an honest investigation to really show what was happening so that we can go and we can start to expose to, just like what happened in the debates when everybody was finally able to see what was happening with Joe Biden, that realized that the mainstream media was lying. As I talked earlier and often about what happened in the debate with Joe Biden when he showed the whole world just how far mentally gone he was. I remember watching that debate and I was thinking, this isn't even that bad. If Joe Biden could be way, way worse than this, I could probably put up 10, 20 clips right now showing Joe Biden being worse than he was in the debate stage. But what that ultimately did is that showed that the deep state was hiding for Joe Biden and that the mainstream media was more than happy to cover it up. They would call it a stutter, or they'd call it a cheap fake. And if it was up to the mainstream media, the ones that are actually supposed to be covering the government, you would never know. While at the same time, there was actually, what's ironic about all this is the mainstream media who was deceptively creating these cheap fakes, editing out what Trump said to get you to come to the wrong conclusions. If you'd had the full clip, you never would have came to. It's almost like the Democrats and the fake news, they do these acts, right? These hoaxes, they lie, and it's how they come up with what they tell you, the American people, when they're lying to you, right? It's the mainstream media who deceptively edits clips of Trump to make Trump look bad. But then when Joe Biden does something in front of camera, they go back to what they did to Trump with their own cheap fakes, and they accuse the other side of doing cheap fakes against Biden when they're uncut videos. It's example after example of this. Now, cancer is an awful thing, and I would certainly not wish that on anybody. But the timing certainly is suspicious, especially when they're saying that it's gone and it's into his bones. As I go and I research into this had to be happening for a very long time. I don't think any honest doctor would dispute that. So how could not only have Joe Biden not known, but then how did Jill Biden not know? Or how did his family not know? How did the aides around him not know? Or really something that's very concerning is how could the doctors not know? And then how could they not do their duty and report the health? How much were they hiding? Hey, this is far worse than Joe Biden having dementia. That was always kind of a questioning. But as I understand it from doing research, part of having this prostate cancer is that does cause mental rapid decline. And so maybe he doesn't have dementia at all. I don't know. But I do know that every time we watch these videos with Joe Biden, there was obviously something very wrong going on. He wasn't all there. And he certainly wasn't running the White House. And when it finally got exposed in debate, then they had to replace Joe Biden with an even worse candidate, Kamala Harris, yet the rest is history. Until now, the fake news, they've all of a sudden realized that they got exposed for lying to the Democrats. Not so much to the people like me and you, because we already knew it, but out to the general masses. This is why the fake news has seen huge drops in their ratings, while independent creators are growing at an incredibly rapid pace for these reasons alone. See, according to the Joe Biden, their spokesperson, they've said that they found out on Friday. Do any of you believe that for a single second? That Joe Biden was suffering from cancer that was so bad it was in his bones, now that it's terminal, and him or nobody else knew? I find that just strangely unbelievable. I don't know about you, but I certainly think that's weird. Very, very suspicious and weird. And then they also said that not only was it not found out till Friday, but that also the reason for that, the reason why this doesn't make sense is because it should have came up in his blood. So the other side that's trying to say that is Joe Biden hadn't had a blood test for prostate cancer till 2014. Okay, how is this possible? And why was the fake news, the mainstream media, why were they not demanding it this entire time? Every single day, they're demanding that Donald Trump take a cognitive test or to do lab work over and over and over again. And he'll do one, he'll ace it, and then they'll just demand another one. Or they'll demand that he releases his taxes with no interest in what was happening to Biden this entire time, or what was happening with the Burisma or anything else of the corruption over on the Democrat side. We talk about how you do not hate fake news enough. We mean that you don't hate fake news enough, because what they're doing is far worse than you could possibly imagine. And I don't know how they even look at themselves in the mirror. I mean, how do they, for alone, look at a camera, put a microphone in front of their face, and they'll blatantly lie to the audiences? They know they're lying, yet they still do it anyways, and they'll look right at you. It's the sheer amount of arrogance that goes into it. And even when they get caught, even when they get busted, they don't say they're sorry. They don't change. They just move on to the next thing. They pretend like it didn't happen. Oh, we got busted on suckers and Hoosers. Okay, let's go on to the 9 Bullets hoax. Oh, we got caught in that one. Okay, let's go on to the boxes hoax. Oh, that one let's go back to Russia. Oh, that didn't work. Well, Donald Trump is a convicted felon. Oh, that didn't work either. Well, he's a sexual abuser with Gene Carroll. See, they just go on from hoax to hoax to hoax to hoax. All at the same time, when they have plenty of evidence on the other side of the aisle, yet they completely ignore it. These are not journalists. These are activists for the Democrats. And they're very proud and they're very happy to be. But now that Biden lost, the information's starting to come out. Well, like the Tapper's book's coming out, and he is now trying to pretend that the White House, that they hid this all from the fake news. And maybe they did, but where was their journalistic bone? Okay, they could see all the clips that we could see. So when you had things like Joe Biden walking into walls and looking lost, or when he was staring off to space, or he was doing an interview on MSNBC and he just get up and walk off mid-segment, right? We have example after example after example, yet not one of them had a single curious bone to say, this is kind of weird. This is suspicious. Somebody should not be acting like this. Not a single one of them, because you will never hate fake news enough. And the hero tapes that are coming out, the DOJ tried to hide, are even more damning, even more so than we thought. If you had this information, Joe Biden would have been done. But the real question is, when did this all start? And who knew? Every single one of his staff members need to be hauled in front of Congress. And they need to be put under oath. Every single Democrat like Chuck Schumer, who lied over and over and over again and said that Joe Biden was sharp as a tack, at the same time accusing Donald Trump of doing damage to our country, needs to be put under oath. People like Mayorkas should not be able to just walk free. If they came in and they looked and they told you straight to the face that Joe Biden was the sharpest person in the room, when he must have known he was lying if the cancer had gone this far. They all need to be put on oath. And it's finally time that Democrats are held responsible for their vicious lies they're telling to you, the American people. And even worse than them are the fake news networks. As they're supposed to be protected by the First Amendment. Right? the media is supposed to be the ones that are the watchdogs for you, the voters. They're not supposed to care Democrat, and they're not supposed to care Republican. They're just supposed to report the news, and then you make a decision based on the information that you have. But they have all chosen a side. They've decided they're going to be Team Democrat all the way into the ground. And I say, you know what? They deserve it. They deserve to go completely broke and to be completely have no influence after all the lies that they've done about it, because the White House was in on it the whole entire time. Fake news knew about it the entire time, and they covered it all up to try to keep Democrats in power and to keep Donald Trump out of office. This idea that fake news was duped is so laughable, and it's also no win for them, because it's bad for them either way. Either they were willing participants, like I strongly suspect, and they are worse than the most corrupt Democrat, because it's like a doctor who should do no harm to a patient. This is 10 times worse. They are supposed to be your watchdogs. You're supposed to be able to turn on the news and just get news. But when they're blatantly lying to you, when they're manipulating elections, and then people get into office based on what they said, and then they do against your will as American voters, I don't know. I don't know how they look in the mirror. I don't know how they sleep at night. So that's the one bad side. The other bad side is if they were duped. That also means that they were so stupid that they were fooled by Biden and his team, who's walking around with cancer, possibly dementia. And that was enough to fool them. Or I guess the third way about that is not only were they wanted to be duped, right? They were all in on Team Democrat. And so what would they do? Anything that went against what they wanted to believe, what would happen? That gets swept under the rug. But anything that they wanted to push these Democrat positions or propaganda, they were more than happy to run with it. See, none of the outcomes is good for fake news. And that's why they're losing all their influence. And I think Megyn Kelly, she did an amazing job. I don't know why Tapper ever agreed to go on her show, but he did. And the very foolish decision of him to do so, as she asked him just a very simple question, and he couldn't answer it. And I just look at the clock. I am way over on a break. Go over quite a bit as there's so much to talk about, but this is way over on my part as the clock is yelling at me right now. So we're going to take a greedy profit break. Then we're going to come back. We're going to play the clip of Jake Tapper getting absolutely destroyed by Megyn Kelly, asking just a very simple question, and why all of them try to sit there in their own little bubbles and never wanted to answer any real questions. You're not going to miss any of that and more. We'll be right back at this greedy profit break. This is the Cash Loren Show. StreamYard is the all-in-one solution towards streaming video online across multiple platforms. It is the same program that I use to host and produce this show every single day, both live streaming across multiple platforms, as well as doing pre-recorded videos to put up, whether it be a YouTube, X, or anywhere else on the internet. If you are looking for a host for your live streams, look no further. Click on the link below and sign up for StreamYard today. You will not regret it. It is both user-friendly for beginners, easy to understand, and has lots of tools built inside it. Don't wait. Click on the link below and sign up for StreamYard today. Creators, are you tired of spinning your wheels, posting over and over again, yet you seem to gain no traction and no growth? We have a solution called the 𝕏 Accelerator. This is what I use to grow my account from 0 to now over 25,000 followers and counting. This program will teach you how the algorithm works and how to maximize your time with third-party tools to 10x your growth. I purchased it and I'm glad I did, and you will be too. Click on the link below, and you will not only be for your benefit gaining the 𝕏 Accelerator course, but you will also be helping the show by a small percentage being donated back here. So click on the link below, sign up for the 𝕏 Accelerator today. I am glad I did, and I know that you will too. If you are watching this show, then you are probably sick and tired of the corporate media we call fake news lying to you every single day. You are not alone. This has caused many citizen journalism, as much as I hate to say the J word, that's really what we're doing, is exposing the fake news networks and the corrupt government every day without the filter of the corporate media deciding what you can and cannot know. Many of us make these videos with the extra room that we have in our houses, just like I am here in our spare bedroom. But making these is not free. We have families to feed as well. If you are enjoying this content, then it will always be free, and I thank you for your support. But if you want to help monetarily, there is a great way to do that on Locals. Click on the link below, sign up for our different tiered programs, and we will have additional content for you based on the level that you sign up for, including being thanked in the end of videos every single day. Take a moment, if you enjoy this content, and sign up for the monetary support and help us stay on air and offer you more benefits, such as more shows and better production. So sign up for today at Locals and support the citizen journalisms and help us get past the fake news networks. Well, this is a monumental nuking of the Democrat Party, but more importantly, over on fake news networks, as they have been exposed for lying to you, the American voters, for a very, very long time. So welcome back, independent thinkers. I'm your host, Loren, America's truth teller, fighting through the Democrats' lies and hoaxes and exposing fake news every single day, 8 p.m. Eastern. Making the liberals cry tears that are saltier than you-know-whose fries. This is beyond bad for them. And this Jake Tapper's attempt to help fake news recover what little influence they have, which is absolutely none, he gets absolutely destroyed on the Megyn Kelly show. I can't believe that he even tried to go on to that show in the very first place. It is insanely arrogant that he thought he can go on there and just tell his normal lies. But she immediately calls him out, because the thing that the Democrats and their partners in the fake news networks, and make no mistake about this, okay, there is no separation between the Democrat Party and the fake news networks, whether it be MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post, Political Axios. Every single one of them are Team Democrat. They are all in the bag of the DNC. But when they go through and they ran these hoaxes for the Democrat Party all this time, the Joe Biden debate with Trump exposed it to the normal, casual news watchers that they were lying every single time to you, the American voters. And they have not been able to recover since, as it's gone and is exposed on Donald Trump as he came back into power in 2024. Even with the boxes hoaxes, even with the conviction hoaxes, even the Gene Carroll hoaxes, all the hoaxes they try to run all at the same time, whether it be suckers and losers or 9-bullet hoaxes, all of them didn't work because the mainstream media had lost all their influence. And it just maybe 5 years ago, okay, I don't think this happens. If go back 2020, 2018, I don't know that any of this happens. Even going all the way up to like 2022 in the midterms, if we had more independent creators with larger microphones and the fake news had been exposed back then, I think that looks very different than it does now. And they know it too. And this is why they're running, okay? The mainstream media, do not doubt for a second, corporate media is still in the bag for the Democrats. Nothing has changed. Okay, they're not throwing the Democrats under the bus. They're throwing Joe Biden under the bus, and they're trying to save the Democrats. But more importantly, they're also trying to save their own face so they can keep lying for the Democrat Party and you, the American voters, and manipulating elections. That's the end of the day. That's exactly what they're doing. So the hoax and the lie they're trying to run now, as opposed to what they were trying to run back then, is when you had Joe Biden going back into his presidency, he was completely lost. I don't think that it's that far of a stretch to say that Joe Biden was not being the president of the United States. I don't know who was actually running the government, but I don't think it's much of a stretch to say it wasn't Joe Biden. Now, the fake news has been exposed as they were covering up for all the corruption and all the hoaxes until it wasn't in their best interest. Then once the debate happened, then all of a sudden they had to pretend that it was the White House. See, it was all the White House. It was all Joe Biden who lied and deceived them. See, it's their fault, not fake news's fault. It was the Joe Biden administration's fault. But now Joe Biden's out, and now we have this bigger enemy, Donald Trump. So once we can get rid of Donald Trump, then we can go back to being propagandists for the Democrat Party. See, that's the way the mainstream media has changed. It hasn't changed a single bit. Do not doubt me on a single moment of this. Okay, fake news has not learned one lesson. They're not suddenly becoming honest through the Tapper book or after the Her tapes came out. Not for a single moment. What they are doing is they're just moving on from one hoax to the next, and they're trying to save their own face by blaming Joe Biden. Okay, so all this time, do you remember what they were trying to lie about Joe Biden's decline? You go back a couple of years, you remember what they're saying every time one of these videos would pop up they couldn't shut down? What would they say over and over again? Oh, it was a stutter. You know that one? Magically, Joe Biden all of a sudden had a stutter. Now, I don't know if Joe Biden overcame a stutter when he was younger or not. I've seen plenty of videos where Joe Biden doesn't have a stutter. I don't know of any videos where Joe Biden is struggling with a stutter, other than recently when they're blaming it on a stutter. But let's say that's even true. Let's say this is like the movie The King's Game, or whatever, where he had a stutter and he had to overcome the stutter. Fine. But any of you looking now, is that what was happening? Was there a stutter, or did Joe Biden have a very bad mental decline? And now we just find out 2 days ago that he had cancer, and that this cancer is already in his bones, meaning that he very likely had it for many, many years. Okay, so they're lying with the stutter. Okay, and Laura Trump, all the way back in 2020, called this out to Jake Tapper's face. And I want to show this clip from Megyn Kelly because she immediately, Megyn Kelly, she immediately played this back to Jake Tapper saying, hey, you know what? This was you. You were supposed to be a journalist. Okay, you're supposed to catch this stuff. And yet Laura Trump did, and watch how he treats her here in clip 1.
And as we all know, his work to overcome a stutter. How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
All right, pause that there for a second. See, this is what I'm talking about. When I say that you never hate fake news enough, okay, now that we've all seen the film, now we've seen Joe Biden wandering all over the place, lost, having to read off cards, refusing to talk to the media, right? Evidence after evidence after evidence that something wasn't right, that the fake news was either in on or they didn't want to see. But now this is why you don't hate them enough. Because all of a sudden they're pretending to care about the children, right? Their favorite little like kids and hoaxes, repackaged fake virtue signaling. You know, think about the children. Joe Biden has a stutter. So how could you call out mental decline when it's just a stutter? How dare you? Think about all the little poor children who have stutters. What would they think? You will never, ever hate these people enough.
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline. Okay. That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You're not allowed to suggest that, right? That is not part of the fake news narrative. You see, the fake news has decided that there's nothing wrong with Joe Biden's mental acuity. that he's perfectly fine. He's the sharpest person in the room. That's the narrative they want to run. So what does Naked News do all the time, just like the Democrats do? When you say something that they don't want to hear, when your facts get in the way of their feelings, the first and only thing that they do is they try to slander you. Right? They call you a racist or a bigot or a homophobe or a transphobe or a white nationalist or an extreme MAGA Republican. But really, they don't believe any of that, nor do they care. Really, what they're trying to say is just shut up. Right? Don't you dare let your facts get in the way of our narrative. Think about the children. Think about all those poor little boys and girls out there who have a stutter. The next time you accuse Joe Biden, you mock his stutter. When that's not what she's doing at all. She's calling into question, which turns out she was right, his mental decline that fake news didn't want to know anything about.
This is so amazing.
You're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter.
Yeah,
I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. Thank you, Laura Trump.
Sorry for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure it was from a place of concern. We all believe that. Laura Trump, thank you so much.
All right, just in case you don't hate these people enough. Right? I'm sure it's a place of concern because these children suffer from stutters. How could you? It doesn't have anything to do with Joe Biden. Obviously nothing. It's just another Democrat hoax like the fake news does because they are Democrats. They are the liberal elite. Every last one of them. Jake Tapper is not some neutral journalist. He is a liberal elitist activist. And the cheap fakes, the stutters, they are all the lies to cover up the facts that they don't want you to know because that gets in the way of their narrative. There's like he was going after Donald Trump, calling him every name in the book, trying to discredit Donald Trump when he knew he was lying. And he could have taken 2 seconds to figure out whether it be suckers and losers, 9 bullets, the boxes, the felonies in New York, right? Gene Carroll, any of that stuff. If they had one journalistic bone in their body, they could have exposed all of it. And really, you think about it, if they had exposed like what the fake news was doing, like let's say Jake Tapper decided to actually be honest about Russia, right, that alone is probably one of the biggest news stories that this world has ever seen. Or now that we're finding out with Joe Biden's cancer and his cognitive decline and the HER reports, okay, they could have blown that wide open. And they chose not to. It was either because they were in on it. It was either because they openly chose not to know anything, which I personally think they were in on it. Or the last one, I guess, is that they had a predetermined narrative. And so they were going to take the facts that fit that narrative and then ignore everything else that didn't fit into that narrative. It was either that or the others. I don't know which one you think it was, but I personally think they knew the entire time. I find it very hard to believe that every single one saw the clips that we saw and didn't think anything of it. But that's why, at the end of the day, they've lost all their influence. If mainstream media, if they had any of the influence they had from even 5-10 years ago, then Donald Trump is not president right now. Because what would all of you believe? All of you would believe he's a convicted felon. All of you would believe that he stole documents. All of you would believe that he was a sexual predator, right? You would believe all these hoaxes if the mainstream media had the influence they used to have. But they don't. And slowly we've been chipping away with it, just like what Megyn Kelly did here when she was able to show just how badly Jake Tapper was lying to you, the American people. And he had to go back and he says he apologized to Laura. I don't know if that's true or not. As far as I know, Laura hasn't spoken up about it. But that's neither here or there either way. The point is that they knew and they lied. They chose Team Democrat. And now Jake Tapper is running this book, and this book is just another hoax. Okay, this book is to try to push the next fake news hoax that it was the White House. Okay, not even Democrats. It was the Biden White House because they are all still Team Democrat. Every single one of them. Every last one is Team DNC. They haven't turned a leaf. They haven't changed any of their outlooks. None of that is any different. their new hoax is Biden was a bad lie to us, right? The White House was really, really bad. So that's not the Democrats, right? That's not mainstream media's fault. That was the Biden White House. And so you should blame the Biden White House. That's the entire point of Jake Tapper's fake BS book. And you don't even have to read his book. If you want to know what he's lying about, just look what's been happening on X for the last 5 years as we've been exposing all of it. It was all already known. It's just the fake news didn't want to know about it. And that's why we are now destroying them all, and they are losing every single last bit of their influence. They have virtually nothing left. And with that, I am up against another break. They have everything coming to them that they deserve. And we have a lot more to cover here, so we're going to try to cram it all in this last segment. You're not going to miss many of that, but we have to take this greedy profit break. I'll be right back. This is the Cash Loren Show. StreamYard is the all-in-one solution towards streaming video online across multiple platforms. It is the same program that I use to host and produce this show every single day, both live streaming across multiple platforms, as well as doing pre-recorded videos to put up, whether it be a YouTube, X, or anywhere else on the internet. If you are looking for a host for your live streams, look no further. Click on the link below and sign up for StreamYard today. You will not regret it. It is both user-friendly for beginners, easy to understand, and has lots of tools built inside it. Don't wait. Click on the link below and sign up for StreamYard today. Creators, are you tired of spinning your wheels, posting over and over again, yet you seem to gain no traction and no growth? We have a solution called the 𝕏 Accelerator. This is what I use to grow my account from 0 to now over 25,000 followers and counting. This program will teach you how the algorithm works and how to maximize your time with third-party tools to 10x your growth. I purchased it and I'm glad I did, and you will be too. Click on the link below and you will not only be for your benefit gaining the 𝕏 Accelerator course, but you will also be helping the show by a small percentage being donated back here. So click on the link below, sign up for the 𝕏 Accelerator today. I am glad I did, and I know that you will too. If you are watching this show, then you are probably sick and tired of the corporate media we call fake news lying to you every single day. You are not alone. This has caused many citizen journalism. As much as I hate to say the J word, that's really what we're doing, is exposing the fake news networks and the corrupt government every day without the filter of the corporate media deciding what you can and cannot know. Many of us make these videos with the extra room that we have in our houses, just like I am here in our spare bedroom. But making these is not free. We have families to feed as well. If you are enjoying this content, then it will always be free, and I thank you for your support. But if you want to help monetarily, there is a great way to do that on Locals. Click on the link below, sign up for our different tiered programs, and we will have additional content for you based on the level that you sign up for, including being thanked in the end of videos every single day. Take a moment, if you enjoy this content, and sign up for the monetary support and help us stay on air and offer you more benefits, such as more shows and better production. So sign up for today at Locals and support the citizen journalisms and help us get past the fake news networks. I think I hit the button twice. There is nothing here in the boring in the day and world of politics, as it's always going 24/7. One of the tough parts about this job is trying to cram everything in that happens in an hour and then also give every story some justice. some have asked me sometimes, what are you doing during the breaks when we go and it goes away to our commercials? And vast majority of the time, I'm trying to catch up on the news and even sometimes scripting on the show. So I say script, but I don't really script on the show. Essentially what I do is I have some stories and then I'll have a couple key points I may need to hit, some notes, and the rest of it's on top of my head. There's often with seconds before even we go live or I'm talking in a sentence, I don't know what's going to be said in the next sentence. I'll just have a couple thoughts and then I'll go on from there. And this is the reason I'm bringing some of this up is because we had a story that broke right as we were break, as I was going back through X and looking at this. And this is one that I think is so funny because over on Fox News, they were able to get a surrogate into James Comey's new book. James Comey has been in the news a lot lately because of all the corruption that he's been the center of. But then he posted this Instagram. Did you see this one before he deleted it? Where this is what he's claiming happened. Okay, so let's go through Comey lie. What I think is a very obvious lie. Is he saying his wife and him were walking on the beach. All right, and then as they were walking up to the beach, they came to these seashells. And these seashells, they wrote out 8647. And he had no clue what that meant. Right? He thought maybe it was a recipe for some stupid reason. I have no idea. He's claiming he didn't think of the political implications. Like 86, President 47. Right? A child knows what that means. Everybody who saw that knows what it means. And for Comey to sit there and lie about it right to your face is just the sheer arrogance of the left. Hey, well, Jesse Rodgers, he actually got somebody into James Comey's book signing. So it's funny timing is he gets to take a shot at Trump, a literal attempted on Trump's life. Does anyone doubt what 8647 means? The Democrats are trying to pretend that can be mean anything, but you all know 100% what that means. And so here is the surrogate that snuck into Comey's book signing, and watch what he asks.
So we sent Johnny to investigate the investigator.
Thank you for coming. Yeah, it's great to meet you. Hello.
Director Comey,
Yeah.
how are you?
Good, thank you.
Jesse Waters from Fox has a question.
Yeah.
Why do you want to 86 Trump?
All right.
Director?
I'm not taking questions.
Every single person knows exactly what that is. You see how bad Comey was there for a second? He's like, Comey knows what he did. The idea that just happened to be there magically, the she shells exactly 8647 a couple days before Comey's book comes out. I find that very, very hard to believe. And I think most America does. Comey and others need to be held responsible. But wait till the nickname that he gets that will never, he'll never live it down.
Like that now.
But why would you
Just signing the book.
Why would you post that? Director Comey, how was your interview with the Secret Service?
You want the book signed, really?
Absolutely.
Okay, you got it, bud.
Can you sign my seashell too? Which beach is this that you're going to? You find a Kamala seashell?
He signed it by seashell. I mean, it's from now to the rest of the time, it's gonna be James Seashell Comey. Right? Can you think of a better name now than Seashell for the rest of his life? And I hope the rest of his life is in prison because that's where he belongs. Every single person knows what 8647 means. Anyone else that is either lying about it to cover for Democrats, but every single one of them absolutely 100% knows. But every time the Democrats that they are caught in one of their lies, the mean things they try to do is they try to pretend that they're somehow innocent, right? That they're just victims of circumstance. And we have another clip here I'm going to play with. This is a mom and a wife. And I think she's a mom. I believe she says in her video she's a mom, but she's definitely a wife of an illegal immigrant. And her illegal immigrant husband was arrested for being an illegal immigrant and is going to get deported. And I want to watch how she pretends here that she is a victim of the big, mean Trump administration and how her life has been turned upside down not because of her poor decision making, but because of the big bad Trump administration.
It's been a living nightmare. Having my husband torn out of my life, having him accused for this crime that he didn't commit, and feeling so helpless. It's been really hard. It's been really hard emotionally. It's been hard on my family. It's really hard when I get calls from him and all he wants to do is.
All right. He is an illegal man. You know, I have some really good life advice. I don't know if she has a father or not, but her father should have told her, you know what you don't do? You don't marry illegal immigrants because they can get deported, right? This is just like you don't marry criminals. You know, I don't mean that people can't change their lives around and that get a better life, but after that's happened, I mean during, because they're going to go to jail, very likely, right? So make good decisions. Yeah, she didn't do that. She made a very poor decision. And then what she should be saying is, ladies, learn from my mistakes. Don't marry a criminal because criminals go to jail. And I don't know what else he did. I don't care. But it is a crime to come into this country illegally. And the due process for coming into this country illegally is you get deported. Just because the past administration refused to enforce our laws, the current administration is. And that she screwed around, she found out. But she's going to continue to double down and pretend that she is a victim, not of her own decision-making, of course.
Come home. He wants to come home and be with me and be his mom and give his dog some snuggles. We don't know how long he's going to be in jail. His next court hearing is not until July. And even then, we're told that if he is released from the federal court system, that ICE is going to swoop him up anyways and take him.
Facts. That is the expected outcome of coming into this country. You get deported, you go back home to whatever country you're from. And then she's going to have a choice to make. She can stay here in America because I'm assuming she's an American citizen, or she can go with her criminal husband back to his country. That's her choices. But there is no scenario where he gets to stay here in this country. And I'm assuming from the way she was talking, and she's going to come here from a second, that she knew he was a criminal. She must have known that he was a criminal illegal alien before she married him.
Even though we have done the paperwork that was requested so that we can get his status adjusted.
That doesn't change anything, though. That doesn't change a single thing. He still came here illegally. So this is when they're going to have to take responsibility at some point for their actions. Because the Trump administration is very serious about all this. And at some point, even though the deportations have already started, these commie judges, these activist judges that are blocking the deportations are going to lose sooner or later. And as they try to stretch this out past the midterms, hoping that the Democrats take back the House, I don't think this is going to work. Watch what happens. And hopefully that you are listening, and some of those that may be in the fence, this is the good life advice. Okay, don't marry people who are here illegally. Right here is someone says, what can they do what can who do? If you want to respond back, I'll put your comment on, I'll talk about it. But I have a comment on the screen. I'm not sure what you mean by that. But sorry, where was I going with that? Is that the deportations are the expected outcome of coming into this country illegally. And while the Democrats, while they marry themselves to these criminal illegals like gang membering, wife beating, human trafficking, Garcia's, calling him the Maryland man. We had Rubio, the Secretary of State. He went into Congress and he just embarrassed the senator who went down there and had margaritas with a criminal illegal alien. This is one of the best clips ever.
Of El Salvador, absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come, you're going to see who you went to.
The Democrats, they choose to be on the wrong side of every single issue. Every last one, they just decide that they're not going to be on the right side. All right, give the Democrats a 10% or 20% issue, And here it is. And he's going to continue to double down on fighting for this criminal illegal alien. And I say, keep it up, Democrats. Keep continuing to learn nothing.
Look,
Senator,
I'm sorry,
please,
Mr. Chairman.
Secretary
No.
Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated
Senator,
comments like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor. You had
Secretary
your time.
Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court
Senator,
of the United States because
Well,
he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point, okay? There is
He's so salty that their criminal illegal Maryland man hoax fell in their face.
a division in our government between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge in the judicial branch cannot tell me or the president how to conduct foreign policy. In the case of El Salvador,
Facts. We've talked about this quite a bit here on this show. The separation of powers between the president, between the Congress, and between the judicial branch. Where the judges, now these activists who are cosplaying as judges, are trying to usurp Donald Trump's executive authority as the president of the United States. 0 of you voted for these judges, yet close to 80 million of you voted for Donald Trump. Donald Trump has exclusive authority over the executive branch, and they, on the Democrats, just like Van is there, is on the wrong side of every single issue. This is the current state of the Democrat Party. And then we have Charlie Kirk here. Let me switch so this gets bigger for you, because I'd like to see if nope, that doesn't work. There it goes. Okay, so you have a better set of reading this. Is Charlie Kirk posting here? This is the current Democrat Party. New Jersey Rep. LaMonica McGiver, assaults an ICE agent, faces federal charges. Democrats assaulting police officers. I thought 2 minutes ago that they were saying that assaulting police officers was bad. Judge Hannah Dugan helped smuggle illegal aliens out of her courtroom to evade ICE, and now she is in prison too. On Senator Chris Van Hollen shared a margarita with El Salvador, as we just showed in that last clip. And then the biggest debate within the Democrat media establishment is who to blame covering up the Joe Biden's mental and physical incapacitation. I think this is going to turn into the biggest, not only just cover up, but scandal. And the Biden administration is just essentially the Watergate on steroids. Fed President Kamala Harris, failed VP Tim Walz, the DNC COG, who is pushing $20 million to primary their own party. Okay, this is the state of the Democrat Party. And the older Democrats, like the Nancy Pelosi's, like the Chuck Schumers, they're soon going to be gone. But understand that the younger Democrats, like the hogs of the world, they are more insane than the Schumers and the Pelosi's. If you think the Schumers and the Pelosi's of the world are crazy, the Bernie Sanders, wait till you see like the AOCs when they have full-blown power. They are far more insane than so. For you answered other questions, I said that's what I was trying to ask. What can be done about these crooked judges? And that's a very good question, because Donald Trump does have several options to activate against these judges. The easiest and the most forward is just to ignore them. They say, they can write these injunctions, but how can they actually enforce them? They can't. And I personally think that Donald Trump, his administration, while it's important that he gets his administration and all his executive orders put into law, the most important battle that Donald Trump can fight in his administration is winning over the hearts and minds of the American voters, is exposing how corrupt the Democrats are, how much fake news is lying to them, and how the uniparty works. If he does that, we can see a 30-year plus MAGA movement. Okay, this is really the battle for hearts and minds. And I think that's part of why when he's asking, they're asking, what can Trump do if he ignores these judges, right? Because the mainstream media is going to run all their hoaxes. A constitutional crisis, and this is a threat to our democracy. And the Democrats, this is a constitutional crisis and a threat to our democracy. But if it falls on deaf ears, then nothing can be done. Donald Trump could also do his constitutional right and basically suspend them and go tell them to pound sand. Just instead of just ignoring him, just flat telling them, go F off. Or he can continue to try to fight through the court system. But I think it's so early in the Trump's administration that he is ignoring these judges, but not to such a blatant point as he has done in some other spots. But I think if it goes too far, I think ultimately he will. as Trump has said, I will do what needs to be done. I'm trying to think back the way Trump worded it. He said, there's ways around this, but I don't want to go down that route, I believe is how Trump worded it. And so I do think because it's so early in his administration, he's letting this play out a bit, but I don't think he'll let this play out either. So for the Foggy's back, I really appreciate the comment. And everybody else is listening, if you enjoyed this show, take a moment, repost us, and help us share a conservative message. We'll be back again tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern at the new time. This is the Cash Loren Show. Greetings, independent thinkers. We have come to a top of another hour. If you're enjoying this content, please make sure you have subscribed, turn on notifications, but most importantly, share an American First message with your friends and family so we can help fight back against the Democrats and their propagandists over at the fake news networks. Also, take a moment to consider subscribing to us on Locals at the Cash Loren Show, where for a very small amount of money every month, you'll get many additional perks, including your name at the end of videos. I could be up the screen here in just a moment, a follow and increased engagement and exclusive lists on that I use on X. That sounds interesting to you. Go over to locals.com at the Cash Loren Show, hit the subscribe button for about a cup of coffee a month, and help us stay independent and free of the fake news networks and bring you the truth every single day, just like these fine patriots have. At the end of the video, be on your screen here in just a moment.